The CAT Synthesizer uses a Pratt and Read keyboard. Under each key there is a rubber bushing, and the purpose of that bushing is to give the keyboard a dampened feel, a nice, soft, quiet depression. Through the years, these bushings dry out and become hard and brittle, which creates a lot of noise when you press the keys. So if your keyboard sounds like this, stay tuned. This video will explain how to replace the bushings on your CAT synthesizer. Before you take off all of your keys, it's not a bad idea to kind of just observe the height to see how they all sit. If there's one sitting lower or higher, that can all be adjusted once all the keys are removed. It looks like this one key down here is a little bit lower. No, it was just an optical illusion. But anyway, that's something that you want to think about, the keyboard height. The first step, once the keyboard has been removed from the synthesizer, the first thing you want to do is remove the white keys and black key plastic caps, and that's simply done by unscrewing the single little screw, and they come right off. I took one off already. What you want to do is just take them off and clean them up with some warm water and soap, just soap detergent, and put those aside for later. When removing the keys, it's best to remove the white keys first, and then the black key can slide forward and out. But there's the key has to slide forward to clear the little tab. So obviously you can't slide a black key forward when there's white keys blocking. Removing the J-wire guides by taking a pair of needle nose and just carefully lifting up. Usually I'm holding down on the key, but like that, and it comes up. But it's easier if you hold the key down while you do it. This is with all of the J-wire guides removed from the keyboard. Once the J-wire guides are removed from the keyboard, you can then start working on the removal of the springs. And once again, the brass color springs are for the white keys, and these reddish color springs are for the black keys. And the way I'm removing them, I'm using I can't do it with one hand, but I'm using a flathead screwdriver. I'm lifting up on the spring and then letting it down slowly, and then it just slides right off of the hook. But just take your time and put a finger over it so it doesn't go flying. Another option for spring removal is to use a pair of needle nose pliers. You may have better luck with that, but just take your time. Once the plastic keycap is removed and the spring is removed in the back. The metal body of the key is exposed. This metal body, here's another one, will conceal the bushing. It kind of like slides over like that, so it's a bit of a pain to lift these up off of the tab, and then you slide it forward like that to expose the rubber bushing. The way I'm removing this metal bar from these tabs, I'm using a flathead screwdriver and just carefully prying it up. I may not be able to do it on the video because I just want to take my time and do it, but I'm just able to pry that up carefully. Let me see if I can get that up a little bit. It easily comes up to a certain point and then stops, and there, it's that easy. And then you slide it forward a little bit, and then you expose the bushing. And these bushings are really, they're 46 years old, they're hard, all dried out, and that's what's making this key clanking sound. So I'm hoping that the brand new bushings that will be put on these tabs will quiet things up. I will show that a little bit later. Another technique that seems to be working pretty well is just take the small piece of wood and kind of like just use it like a lever, and it will pop up, and then you slide it forward and off to expose the bushing. But so far that may be the less destructive way to do it. I ended up using pretty much all three techniques to get these bars off of the frame. If prying didn't work with the piece of wood, then I would use a screwdriver underneath to try to give it a little lift, and then get it even further by going in the back and lifting it up. So, you know, do what works best for you. A half an hour later, I have all of the keys off, and the metal bodies of the keys have been taken off of the frame. You can see where it used to be on a hinge. You can't really see it. It's real grungy. There was grease. There still is some grease on these back pins. So I'm going to put some dielectric grease there when I put it back. The old bushings are exposed. You can see what they look like. They don't look bad, so to say. Some of them are pretty mangled, but the problem is they are rock hard. So I'm done for the day, but tomorrow's project will be to remove these old bushings and get everything cleaned up on the frame, and put the new bushings on. I'm in the process of removing the old bushings from the metal key stops, and I have already removed one of the bushings right here. I'm replacing them with a bushing kit from a company called Centaur, which is located in Texas. And I'm really thrilled that the replacement bushings are an exact reproduction of the original, so they should just go right on. There is an orientation to the bushing. they look different. One side is different than the other. If you notice, there's kind of like a cat ears. Focus that. One side looks like cat ears and the other is kind of like a bow tie. And when you look on the synthesizer, the way they were originally done, the cat ears are pointing up in the way I have it the way I have the frame oriented right now. The cat's ears are pointing up. Now, another topic is the lubrication. The bushing kit came with dry bushings, so you will need to put some kind of a lubricant on the bushings themselves. This is a Pratt and Read keyboard, and they were not lubricated from the factory. However, they were spray painted with some kind of a beige paint, and that paint would prevent the rubber bushing from having any kind of drag on the metal key stops. So, like, this is a metal key stop, and you can see where the metal is folded over, and that's pretty much where the bushing will fall in, like when it's oriented, when it's assembled. And if these bushings were not painted, they would have drag as they're going up and down on the key stop. So that's why you want to put some kind of a lubricant on these rubber bushings. The official lubricant, I believe, is a Owings Corning release compound number 7, something like that. I don't have that, and it's very expensive. I'm going to take my chances with plain old dielectric grease. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the sides, like on each side of the bushing. And I'm also going to put grease on the inside of the metal stops, or the metal frame, just a little bit with the Q-tip, just below where the metal is folded over. That's where the bushing rides up and down. I was doing some experimentation with a spray lubricant, this blaster spray lubricant on the bushings. These are all my experiments, and the spray lubricant worked well. The first hour that it was done, but the next day, the next day there was a lot of friction. So then I tried a dry bushing with grease on the metal, and it was a little better. Then I put blaster, the spray lubricant, on a bushing, then grease on the metal, and there was some drag. And obviously, if it's a completely dry bushing and a dry metal, there's lots of drag. And the best scenario was grease on the bushing and grease on the metal body. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully it does not make the bushings swell, but we'll give it a shot. But the bottom line is you will need some kind of lubricant to make sure that the bushing does not hang up on the metal body frame. One other thing about lubricant, on the back of the keyboard, where the body, let me see if I can, where the metal housing would sit, Try to get that on there like that. This kind of like rides up on a, it just kind of rides up and down like that. And there's already some old lubricant from the factory. And what I'm going to do is just kind of wipe off the old grease and apply a liberal amount of grease. This dielectric grease. I'm going, like during the final assembly, I will put a liberal amount of grease here, so the rocking feature will not create sound or any. It will have like a nice smooth motion. I'm not saying this is the way you should do it. This is the way I'm doing it, and I'm hoping for good results. You will also need to put some grease on the key stop before you try to slide the bushing over it. It will just kind of make it a little bit easier to get that bushing on there. To remove the bushings, I'm just kind of grabbing it with my fingers and just kind of like ripping it off. They're really shot. But I'm not using any tools like screwdrivers or pliers. It's these are just kind of brittle. Just kind of like ripping them apart, taking them off like that. And you can hear how noisy these bushings are. Like here's the body that would be bouncing on it when you press the key down, and instead of having a nice muted sound, it's hard. It's hitting a hard surface since the bushings are real brittle. Once you have removed the rubber bushings from the key stops and you cleaned the stops up, it's not a bad idea to take a straight edge like a board and place it on top of the key stops, just to see how level everything is. So, see if I can get in there. Honestly, I didn't have an issue with my keyboard. All of the keys were sitting nice and straight. But it's not a bad idea to just kind of record it. So mine are all hitting the board. The front of the stops may be a little low. It's hard to really see. But while everything is out, it doesn't hurt to double check your level. This is with the old bushings off. This is the old bushings here. Pretty nasty. And the all the new bushings installed. Hopefully all going in the correct orientation. When installing the metal key body back onto the frame, I'm first testing to see if the bushing is causing too much friction on the metal body itself. So I kind of stick it in this way and kind of rock it up and down, and I can feel there's some drag there. So what I'm doing, I'm taking a screwdriver and I'm just kind of like opening up the opening here a little bit. I can't do it with one hand, but I just open it up a little bit and then retest it. The object of the game, I think, is to make sure that these guys go up and down nice and easy. That's what you want to see. Now, of course, there is a spring that will be holding it down, and then your finger will push down on the key. But for myself, I'm just making sure that I don't have an excessive amount of friction between the rubber bushing, the new bushing, and the metal body. Right now I feel this one has some friction. So let me stop the video, widen it, and try it again. So just opening it up a little bit made a big difference. It goes up and down real nice. And when it's installed, it goes up and down real good. So this is how I'm approaching it. It's up to you how you want to do it. If there is too much wiggle in the keys, like you can see that wiggling, this one is solid, that's solid, that's solid, but this one has a little too much wiggle. What I'm doing, if I can pop that out, what I'm doing is I'm just taking a pair of pliers and closing the gap just a little bit so that it's up against the bushing a little bit. Maybe it's not even up against the bushing much, but it closes the gap. Remember that when you are putting the keys back, black keys have to go on first. If I can get that on there with one hand. So you would put the black key on first, and then you can put the white keys back. Also, when tightening these screws, you have to remember that this is 46-year-old plastic, so you don't have to bear down super tight. Just give it a little snug, tighten, and you're done. When installing the keys, the black key will kind of like just slide right on the front, and the white key will have to be propped up a little bit, ramped up, and then it lays down. And of course you want to make sure the holes all line up real good. If you're having a little trouble putting the white keys on and getting them seated properly, just a little dab of silicone on the inside track of the plastic keycap goes a long ways to making it slide on better. Springs are all back on. Just pay special attention to black keys and white keys, and put the correct spring in the correct location. It's a little tricky. Just take your time, pay attention, and then don't forget to connect the J-wire guides. And after that, I'm all done. We'll see how the action is. A quick note about the CAT Synthesizer's J-wire configuration and the bus bars. The CAT uses two buses. Let me focus that. There is the front bus, which is the control voltage, and the back bus, which is the gate. And when a key is depressed, there are two J wires, and you want the top bus J wire to touch first, the control voltage, and then afterwards the gate makes contact, and that will give you a nice steady tone, like deep. If the bottom J wire touches first, then you will have a pitch that you'll have a note that drops in pitch. It will go D until the control voltage J wire touches, and then it will bounce right back up to the proper tone. The way I'm checking to see if the notes are, if the J wires are hitting in the correct sequence, I have two ohm meters set up. The ohm meter on the left is for the control voltage J wire, and the yellow ohm meter is for the gate. So if I press a key down without knocking over my keyboard, I do it slowly, you'll see the left meter is triggered, then the right meter, and that's the correct sequence. Slowly, and then continuing pressing, and I just do that all the way across. Try to steady the camera. Now those two, for this third key, it almost looks like they are hitting at the same time, very close. But anyway, that's what you want to happen. You want the control voltage J wire to hit first, and then the gate J wire. And you may have to make some minor adjustments to the J wires themselves. In order to make some minor adjustments to the J wires so that they hit the bus in the correct sequence, I'm using a dental pick. If you want to push the J wire away from the bus, you would wrap the dental tool behind the J wire and push on the wire, like on top, until it bends a little bit. If you want to bring the J wire closer to the bus so it hits earlier, you would push your finger at the bottom of the J wire and wrap the tool above it and pull a little bit. And that will make a nice little bend without damaging the J wire. And you can make minor tweaks that way. Okie dokes, the moment of truth. The new bushings are in the keyboard, and it is just very beautiful to push the keys down. It's making very little noise. It has a nice tactile feel to it. So it's definitely a worthwhile project to go through and clean up your old worn out bushings, put new ones on. Alright, that's the end of this video. Thanks for watching.